know what really makes us mad? Is wasting money on CDs with only one or two good songs.
Yeah. Tell them about punk.
What's up, posers? Welcome to Punklottopod. I'm your co-host, Justin Hensley.
I'm your other co-host, Dylan Hensley.
I think sometimes I'm like, how fast can I do this intro? Can I do it Road Dogg Jesse James style? This is the show where we choose 1 year at random and select one punk, hardcore, emo, or punk adjacent album from that year to discuss. Welcome back to the show, Dylan.
Thanks for having me back.
You haven't heard it yet because it hasn't posted as of this recording, but every time good friend Corey comes on to co-host in your stead, he takes over more and more power. So he says, thanks for making me your new co-host. Like that. He's replacing you every time he comes on the show a little further.
Eventually he'll just take over completely.
But yes, we want to thank good friend Corey for filling in for us last week. And yeah, we're here. You know, it's tough to really talk about anything bantery at the top of these shows because we burn so much of our banter off on our Patreon.
If you like banter, if you're here for the hangs, you'll love our Patreon.
Absolutely. If you head over to patreon.com/punklottopod, for $1 you get access to all of our weekly bonus audio. Last week, we did a News of the World where we talk about some news stories and also just kind of like talked about stuff we watched and what Dylan did while he was recording and all that fun stuff. You also get access to any other extra bonus audio we produce, and I'm thinking about restarting New Release Friday bonus audio. No guarantees yet when that's going to take place. I'm hoping to try it out this week. I'm shifting to my new schedule, so getting used to the sleep is going to be the big change, but you might see the return of that. Maybe it won't be on Fridays. Maybe it'll turn into like a pick of the weeks or something like that. Maybe I'll talk about it on Monday or Tuesday and do something there. But yeah, we'll that is a ever-changing idea. So we'll see what happens there. If you join our $10 tier, you get to choose what album we talk about on the show, and those are a lot of fun. It's a one-time $10 donation, and then you drop back down to $1 or even off entirely, and we'll talk about whatever record you choose. And we've discussed our $5 tier, and I forgot to talk about this with you beforehand, which I may have also suggested this idea to you. But we're going to be launching a $5 tier, which consists of producer credits in the show, where we will say, you know, your name on the show and in a thanks. We're going to do a live stream as well. My account has been approved. Now I just need to figure out how to get a second person, like how to Dylan and I would do it back to back. I wonder if you have to get your account approved too, or if it's just something like I can invite anybody on at this point. We'll have to do like a test version within the next couple weeks. And I actually did think of, I should have run this by you first. Why don't we just make our live streams an EP? Like we just take an EP and
talk about it live.
Yeah, and just do it like we would an episode.
Not a bad idea.
So I think that's what we'll do. We've toyed with Q&As. Maybe if we like post a Q&A, we can have those mentioned. You know, we could do those with the EP. Give us something. That will be we'll be launching that soon. I'm gonna say let's shoot for July, towards the beginning of July. And that way, we have a little time to iron out the kinks. If you're already a patron, you may see a little link in there where we say, hey, who wants to be part of a test and see if this works? We'll let you see how it works. We're going to figure out time of day, too.
Yeah, that'll be tricky because we're bi-coastal, figuring out when the best time to be able to do that is, and also our work schedules. Yeah. Even if we have to like do it during the daytime, the stream will still, like the full completed video will still be there. Yeah. So I think that's not uncommon for live streamers. Like some YouTube personality types, I think they do. Like they'll do it in the middle of the afternoon stream, and it's just like it's going to be archived. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't think that'll be too big of an issue. Yeah. Of course, you just want to be able to, let people interact with us. Yeah. It's kind of the point of a live stream. But yeah. Yeah. Right. But otherwise, it's just a less good version of the show.
But yeah, I mean, even if people just drop in, throw in something in the chat and drop out, that's fun too. So, yeah, we'll iron that out. If you're a patron, leave a comment in one of our posts and just say, recommend like a time of day. I know a lot of people do it at night, but also nighttime is when a lot of people are doing family stuff and watching TV. So I don't know, daytime might be better. We'll see. We'll have to figure that out later. But all that's at patreon.com/punklottopod. And we'll make an announcement on social media when it goes live, and then the week that it goes up, that week's episode corresponding, we will make a bigger announcement about exactly everything that goes into it. But we're getting there. I think we're gonna do it soon. So, yeah, social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff at punklottopod. Voicemail line 202-688-punk and punklottopod@gmail.com. So I think that is everything. I was trying to figure out whenever we decided what year to talk about. I was like, whose turn is it? We have this weird kind of rotation where it's like you did 2, then I did 1 that you said you told me what to do, and
I'm the captain now.
And then Corey did 1. Funnily enough, Corey didn't play the game. He just picked an album and said, let's talk about this. And I was like, oh, okay, you just refuse to let me assign you a year, don't you? He's like, does anybody play the game? I was like, yes, everyone does.
We all got to play the game.
And I was just like, Dylan wasn't here last week. Let's just make it his turn again. So start over the rotation, whatever it is. And I assigned you. Well, first, yeah, I was like, rotation time says we need to do either a 2010s album or a 90s album. And you said, well, nobody likes the 2010s, so I'll bite the bullet.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I assigned you the year 2011, which prior to us looking at the list, we were like, I remember 2011 being a pretty good year.
Yeah, we did say that. We did say that, and that was possibly not correct. Little side note. I saw a TikTok recently of someone asking, when did we switch from saying 2000 and to 20 blah for the year? Was it 2012? 2013? I do very much remember saying 2013.
Yeah. I remember saying
12. I do remember, but I do also remember saying 2012.
2012 might have been the year that we made the transition, because by the time the movie 2012 came out, by the end of the year, we were just calling it 2012.
Yeah.
Because the Mayan calendar thing.
It's just funny hearing you say 2011, because I'm like,
we did say 2011.
We say 2011. We said 2011.
But we did say 2010, didn't we?
So that's the thing. I don't think we said 2010 in 2010, but we very quickly started referring to 2010 as 2010. But I don't remember referring to 2011. No. That one sounds weird to me. Because we call it the 2010s, I think is why 2010 sounds more normal.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's true. That's a weird little tangent, but yeah.
Yeah, just puzzle on that. Anybody else remember that?
So we did the decade in review type thing right at 2020, because we were like, let's talk about all the years that came before the last decade. And that's why I think we thought 2011 was good, because I think when we did that, we're like, this is good, this is good, this is good. I think there's good stuff. It's just buried deep, because when you look at this top tier stuff, you're like, what is this?
Here's another thing that I think colors our perception of 2011 being a good year, or a great year even. Do you remember the Brooklyn Vegan article about the wave?
Yeah, that you and I criticized very hard.
Yeah. I think that idea of 2011 being an important year for those bands makes us think that 2011 was a better or more important year overall, even if we didn't love that stuff. Or like, in the case some of these, it was like kind of the stepping off point.
Yeah. Well, what is big important from this year?
So there's some stuff on the top of the Rate Your Music chart that I don't feel like engaging with beyond to say there's a Nepo baby, a racist, and
a side project.
A rock legacy act.
Yeah. It's not a punk record, but yeah. The Foo Fighters are not a punk band, but I guess you could say, well, he played in Scream.
The influence is there, I guess.
Yeah, whatever.
Within on this top page, the stuff that I do very well remember that it was really a big deal when it came out. It is important, and I do think it should be represented as far as really important popular stuff. The Lotus Butte record, Wildlife.
This is a record that like has been played in its entirety on tours now too. I think last year they played Fest and they did Wildlife in its entirety as one of their sets. I don't think I've ever listened to this album though.
I may have listened to it when it came out because I kind of enjoyed the record before it. There's things about it that I liked, but this one didn't do anything for me. I do distinctly remember being like, nah, I'm not into it.
Yeah.
Along similar lines, Parting the Sea Between the Brightness and Me, Touche Amore's follow-up to their debut, was a record that I listened to kind of a lot that year and felt like the entire time I was just trying to convince myself to like it. Which that one would have been interesting to revisit, maybe, but we have talked about Touche before on the show. So
yeah,
I wanted to try something different.
And if you continue along that line, Pianos Become the Teeth, or at least the Lack Long After, which is kind of considered their best record? Or it's like the one?
That is considered the one by most people. That's the one. It's the record that's part of the wave that people talk about. And I did not like it when it came out. I distinctly remember not liking that one.
I don't remember if I ever listened to it. And I feel like when I did finally listen to Pianos Become the Teeth, they had shifted into their sounding like a Christian worship rock band sound. You want to stay in the wave? Because I guess it's worth mentioning Title Fight's Shed. Was this? Yeah, this would still be part of that more emo sound, more post-hardcore sound before they shifted into the shoegaze thing on the next record. I don't think I've ever listened to a single Title Fight album. And people talk about them as so important.
I've definitely listened to some Title Fight stuff, but they never really became a band for me. But yeah, so like the thing, looking at this list to pick what we talked about, I got the record that we're talking about pretty much immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, probably that. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's probably it. But let me do the due diligence and kind of dig a little bit and see. And I would be like, that's kind of interesting, or like, I know that's considered important, but I don't really know it that much about it, and it's going to be kind of like weird for me to talk about it. I would rather someone else pick that, but no one ever picks the 2010s, so yeah. Nobody ever does. But and it was kind of like, the weakest Sea Power record,
Valhalla Dance Hall.
Let's watch now be light.
Yeah, that is probably, man, now that I think about it, that probably is one of the weakest Sea Power records.
Kind of a weird late Cave-In record.
Yeah. Because Cave-In, when they came back, were weird sounding to me. They felt like, I think they were trying to refigure out their sound, because now I like what they do. Because what they do now was not that far off from, like, take like the crazy guitars of Mutoid Man and put it with more of like the spacey rock stuff, the real singable type stuff. And I feel like this record was maybe like a harder edged album and noisier.
It was kind of like a Boris-y psych sludge.
Yeah.
But also like a little bit of a metalcore record. It was an odd one. I liked it when it came out, but I was looking at this chart and I'm like, this is just a year I remember. I don't think it was a good year. I think it was a year I remember in great detail because I was 21 years old.
Yeah.
In college and in a band, in a hardcore band. So it was just like paying attention to everything.
Which I think just means that you were like, you kept things mentally longer just because you were just hyper aware of what was going on. So maybe that like is what we're like, 2011 was pretty good. And it's like, I looked back at my list because I, at one point, like kind of was keeping track of some stuff that I listened to over the years. And I pulled up 2011 and I was just like, I don't think this year is as good as I thought it was going to be. Or when I revisited the list, because I'm seeing names on here like Big Kids put out Phone Home. love that album. That album's great, but it's also not the best Big Kids record, and they only made 2.
Yeah, it was the disappointing follow-up right before they broke up.
Yeah. And like, I'm looking at the list now, and I'm trying to be like, well, what was cool? Okay, Code Orange Kids released Cycles and Embrace Me, Erase Me. This is kind of like, Cycles I think is where they really blew up, because they had like some EPs and demos before, but Cycles was on, what's the name of that label that doesn't exist anymore? Man, I gotta pull that up now, because that's a blast from the past. Because everybody was like, "This is the way, this is the big record label to be on the lookout for." Mayfly Records, remember Mayfly Records?
Mayfly, wow.
If you go to their Bandcamp, the last album they put out was in 2016 by a band called Our Lady, and yeah, the first name they did a Heart Attack Man record, Acid Rain, in 2014. Like, that's the last notable record, and they weren't even that big yet. Like, they weren't a thing. That Love Child record is probably the last, like, in the moment hot thing that came out. He did that Apart release. Yeah. I mean, he did the Discourse Curse of Consciousness as well, and some Go Deep. So I think he invested a lot of money in stuff that didn't pay off. Is what happened there. But yeah, Mayfly. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking at the list now, and I'm like seeing stuff that I was like, that was cool then, but I haven't listened to it in forever.
There are some really good records that hold up that I would recommend. Amateur Party, Trenches in the Manor.
I've been singing real good songs about you, written by you. Step on and go, step on and go, step on and go.
Oh yeah, I love that album so much.
Killer, catchy, fun, garagey punk record. It's a blast. Highly recommend all of the Amateur Party stuff. It's Mike McKee, Kill the Man Who Questions, Armalite. All of his stuff is so fun.
Yeah, definitely one of my absolute favorites from that whole year. Sam Am released Trips that year as well, which I think was probably one of my favorite albums of 2011, and like, it really stuck with me over time, because I'm like, man, Trips is so good, and I think it's one that people didn't really listen to that much, or I don't know, it kind of like falls out of the, like, it's a late era record by them, and I'm like, but it's also like one of their best albums ever. Like, it's just hugely catchy.
There's a Swingin' Utters record, Here Under Protest, that's really good. I definitely recommend that.
Yeah, I actually talked about that one on the radio episode I did, because I picked a song from there. Okay, these are probably records that I really, really still hold highly. Napalm Dream by Tenement was that year, which, yeah, incredible record.
Perfect record, 5 stars.
Yeah, easily a 5-star album. But also Summer Vacations Condition came out that year. Another, to me, 5-star album. Just so good. This is the year that Joyce Manor's first self-titled came out, but I was always like, but Summer Vacation's right there, everybody. Like, go listen to them. That I do remember that record came out really late in the year. I think it was like an October, November release. So it was like, didn't get as much attention, but I think the people who heard it were like all about it.
We've previously talked about Restoration's first album on the show.
God, that was a long time ago.
Very long time ago.
I guess I could pull up the list of the stuff that we have talked about from 2011 before.
We did talk about Everything the Hard Way by John Moreland. Yes,
that was a Patreon-sponsored episode by Dave Brown, 1 band, 5 songs. We also did Diarrhea Planets, Loose Jewels. We did that with Sunny Falls, Hoagie from Sunny Falls. And those are the 3 we've done from 2011 before.
Did we talk about 7 by Puerto Rico Flowers on a Halloween episode? Or did we talk about a different Puerto Rico Flowers record?
Let's see.
Was it 4?
We did 7. We did. So that one wasn't marked as a 2011 on my tracker because that episode was 2 different years. But yeah, that was a 2011 record, which is probably one of my favorites that year.
I'm trying to think of things that are relevant that I feel like I can talk about, but it's a scattered year as far as the stuff that I really like from it. Like a record that I absolutely love from 2011. It's like one of my favorite records by them of all time is Come On by Low.
You try to sleep, then you never wake up.
Which is just incredible. It's a beautiful record. But I was like, could I pick that for this? Is that the one I would talk about? Probably not. It's probably not the Low record to pick for this show if we're gonna like bend the rules and
yeah. Yeah, like even looking at that list of albums from 2011 that I was really into, it's a lot of stuff I haven't listened to in a very long time. Like Mixtapes put out a ton of stuff that year. They did Castle Songs, the Companions EP, Hope Is for the People, How to Throw a Successful Party EP, Maps and Companions. That's what the Companions was. That's right. It was their album Maps plus bonus tracks, and like it's all about some mixtapes in 2011. And I don't care at all now. I still love Mara. Mara's great. She's got a solo record coming out soon, and she's playing Fest solo, which is cool. Brian's a little problematic, but then I think Mixtapes started like doing a reunion show too. So yeah. And then like that Level Up record, Space Brothers, the first Level Up album before everybody else learned that Level Up was good. And since Iron Sheik had just put out Not Like This in 2010, they had some EPs and singles. They had the Cosmic Future 7-inch. They had this the Pacer split 7-inch that they did. There's a collection called Split and Shit, which was like the split songs and the EPs collected together. This was a period where I was burning lots of EPs and splits and singles to CDs and just like listening to those on repeat. They were essentially playlists is what I was making, but I could fit like 15 EPs and splits on like one CD. So I was definitely doing that a lot during this time period.
This is one of the last pre-Spotify years.
Yeah.
I feel like 2012 I started to get into using Spotify, and then by 2013 it was almost exclusively not downloading anything anymore because it's just such a pain in the ass. It was like, well, let's listen to it on Spotify.
I'm actually even going to pull up my Tumblr and look at the 2011, see if I did a post for it. Let's see, I have my 2011 EP runner-up list. So it shows you how I've always been like this. My splits of the year runner-up list.
Runner-up list.
Yeah, I made runner-up lists because I just wanted the credit that I listened to it, okay? Okay, here's my top 5. Well, albums 5 through 2. I don't know why I did it this way. I guess I wanted the number 1 to have its own spot. My number 5 was Napalm Dream. Number 4 was Condition. Number 3 was Aficionado by Aficionado, the self-titled Aficionado record.
A really good record.
I love that album so much. It's so good.
A band that really fell off the face of the planet. I mean, they just broke up. Like they did that record and then they broke up.
Yeah. A lot of stuff we've mentioned already. I'm trying to find like my number 1 pick. Oh, my album of the year was Fun Titled by Sprainerd.
There is a glue that keeps us stuck to this town, whether it be our jobs or lovers, family or friends or these sounds.
And yeah, I get why I picked that then. I haven't listened to it in a long time. Sprainerd are a band I kind of burned myself out on. One, because like I didn't love the first record. Cut and Paste was okay. I loved Fun Titled. And then I didn't like the next LP they did when they reunited. I mean, I thought it was fine. I didn't love it. And I think I just listened to Fun Titled too much. And then I was just like, I'm done with this band. I listened to them too much. Now that being said, their new band, Pat's new band, Big Nothing, amazing. So, well, let's get into the actual record. So I gave you the year 2011, 2011. Now I don't know how to say it.
Now I'm self-conscious.
And it is Knife Man by AJJ. on the band. So AJJ, formerly known as Andrew Jackson Jihad. If you're unaware of the name change, they chose to change their name. Their number one reason was they're not Muslims, so they didn't think it was appropriate for them to have the word jihad in their name. And number two, they did not want to be associated with the horrible monster of a president, Andrew Jackson. So, and if you're like, what was wrong with Andrew Jackson? A lot. But most famously, the Trail of Tears, I guess. That would be the biggest thing. So,
yeah.
Hated Native people. Legit hated them. Yeah. So, there's that. So, they were just like, let's just drop it. And just, because everybody called them AJJ in short anyway. Just an abbreviation when you were writing it, so much easier. And that name, too, also comes from a time period where there were a lot of silly names in punk and hardcore. Like, I specifically was like, who else had silly names like that? We had John Cougar Concentration Camp, Bloodbath and Beyond, the Sheryl Crow Mags. Like, it was like a thing to have these like goofy names. I think that's a holdover from the MySpace Row Icon has cheeseburger internet silliness, epic bacon era of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to I think it even goes back to kind of like a juvenile Ramones core and pop punk mentality in the 90s too. And just like, that edgy humor, and because that's the thing with the name, it was supposed to be like an edgy joke.
Mm.
And that's how the band really started. A lot of their songs were edgy jokes.
Yeah. So they're a folk punk band originally from Phoenix, Arizona. They formed in 2004. This album was released September 20th, 2011 on vinyl and CD with Asian Man Records and cassette on Lauren Records. And this is the band's fourth full-length album. The personnel is Sean Bonnet on guitar, vocals, kazoo, and bass on one song. Ben Gallaty on upright bass, electric bass, vocals, and some guitar. Deacon Batchelor on drums. Dylan Cook on mandolin. And Preston Bryant on drums, organ, guitar, and piano. There's also like way more additional musicians on the record who play like other things as well. But the band at the time was Sean, Ben, Deacon, Dylan, and Preston. And then the others were just like, I think the cello player on the record winds up becoming a part of the band and playing live with them. But yeah, they've had a lot of members over the years. The mainstays are Sean and Ben, though. Sean and Ben are the two most important members. They were the group started as a three-piece. They had a drummer, Jason White, I think is his name. And we left not too long after that. And then so it was just Ben and Sean, and then they had Dylan Cook play mandolin a lot on that early stuff. And the album was recorded by Jalapaz Nelson, who has recorded nearly everything the band has ever put out. I think he's the guy who goes, go, on like half of their early releases.
Yeah.
From the booth.
We're rolling.
Yeah. I like that kind of stuff in records, though. They did a lot, though. And Sean was a social worker in Arizona, Phoenix. He also apparently, this I learned today from reading an interview, when he was a teenager, started working at a suicide helpline for teens and then just like stayed working there. So I don't know if that's his job, that is the social worker job, or if he just also did that on top of the social worker job. I'm not exactly sure what he doesn't really go into detail about that stuff, because I think it's like when you have a career, it's kind of weird to be like, yeah, I'm this edgy musician too. Yeah. I don't really want to be tying my job to me, And this article also said Ben was a gravedigger. Is that real or is that a joke?
I think that's real. I think he did. I think I've heard him talk about digging graves before.
That kind of explains the grave. There's an EP with like a coffin on it. And they have a song called like Gravedigger's Dance or something like that too. So maybe that actually kind of makes more sense now that I think about it. Maybe it was a job he had when he was younger. And he just still tells people that's what he does. Let's see. Let's do our introduction, because we always like to start off with like, what's your history with the band and that kind of stuff. Do you want to start or you want me to?
Why don't you start, because you discovered them.
Yes, I am the reason why they were famous.
Yeah, he's that article you wrote for Rolling Stone, man, it's really broke him.
Yeah,
but
okay, so I probably learned of AJJ sometime in probably 2008. I definitely had seen their name online a lot mentioned. blogs. People talked about them because this was a period where I was really getting into non-metal and hardcore music. Finally, like I was really getting into punk and emo and stuff like that. I had what I thought was a pretty strong folk punk period, but it turns out I just really only liked AJJ. And this is the beginning of me getting into like the umbrella of orgcore, I guess, where you would really start. So I was a fan of Asian Man Records because I loved ska, and Asian Man was a really good gateway to a lot of different other types of music. And I would have seen the name AJJ or Andrew Jackson's Jihad and thought, that's funny. That's a funny name. What do they sound like? And then eventually, like, listening to them, I think I saw them on like a poster because Asian Man Records did a tour where it was the Queers, Bomb Music Industry, Lemuria, Kepiguli, and AJJ all on tour together, which is like, that's a stacked lineup of two bands I don't want to see. But Lemuria would have been like peak Lemuria at this time. And I definitely checked out People Who Can Eat People Are the Luckiest People that year. That would be like the first album by them I would have listened to. And I distinctly remember too, I was working at Barnes & Noble at the time, and at the end of the night, the store would close and like they would keep everybody. We would recover the store. This would be like 10 to 15 people staying on the clock after the store closed so that we could like clean it up. By the time I left that place, there were maybe 2 people cleaning up the store because they just cut everybody. But there was this thing. We had a CD player that played overhead music that this company provided for us to play throughout the shopping hours. And so like a lot of times after the store would close, people would be like, I'm putting on a CD that I want to listen to. And people would bring in CDs to put on. And I definitely brought in AJJ's People. And one, probably just to get people to like laugh at the name. Because like, what's this band called? And you tell them the name, and then everybody goes, that's a funny name. This is great. We love being in 2008.
Oh, what? There's a war that's been raging in the Middle East for years, and it's going to continue for decades longer? Wild.
And I would play it because then on that record they do an interpolation of what is it? What's the song that they do? The big
Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah, Mrs. Robinson. That was the thing. That was like the big gateway song for me. And I was like, where do you hear their version of Mrs. Robinson? It's like an interpolation about hating your fucking face and to the tune of Mrs. Robinson. And this was also when I was at the age of probably in 2008. I was probably 20, 21, where you're like, you play your music for other people to hear it in hopes that people will think that you have cool taste in music and ask you about it. Nobody cares. Don't do that, anybody. That's all that.
Yeah. Play music that the majority of people enjoy.
Yeah. I listen to this. Play this. Just like, so yeah, I really got into the band, downloaded everything they had. I saw them at Fest that year for the first time I ever saw them live. My biggest memory of Fest, like performance from Fest that I, distinctly remember strongly was that performance. And yeah, I would wind up like downloading everything just because, that's how you did it. You just download everything. I was deep in the discography. I do remember we were at the beach one year and you secretly downloaded their new album, Can't Maintain, because neither one of us knew it was happening. Like it was coming out, that there was a new record. And you burned a copy for us to listen to on the way back home. But it was also after I was like, burn this AJJ EP too. And you're like, ugh. I remember you distinctly being like, I'm doing a thing. Just wait.
Let me go first. I'm doing something.
And I fucking fell in love with Can't Maintain. They went electric on Can't Maintain. This was like mind blowing to us. And so Knife Man was the record that, as Adam Yo called it, the ones you wait for. This was the one that I knew was coming out, and I was excited for coming out, and listening to the singles and getting ready for it. So why don't you take over from here?
Yeah, I remember the excitement for this. It was big because we loved the previous 2 records, and listened to the early stuff a lot then until we finally realized that those songs aren't good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Knife Man was eagerly awaited. I want to say Hate Rain on Me was the first single. It's the song I think of first when I think of this record. It's got to be the first single. Came out, and I want to say they released it in summer. The album came out in September.
Yeah.
So it was probably like a late summer single release on that song. And then I don't remember any other singles leading up to the record, but it was not as much, you'd have your punk news premiere of a single. Like it wasn't a big deal. It was kind of like you might get a single release for, with the album announcement. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we're trying to place this single on playlists. You'd hear a song one time before the record came out, and then you'd hear it again on the record.
Yeah.
So this would have come out my last semester in college, because I graduated in December, and so I very heavily associate this record with being in college, with finishing college in that time period in my life. So I was living in the Asheville area and listening to AJJ a ton and being super into them, like listening to them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Really throughout all of my college experience, because we did get into them in 2008. So I listened to People Who Can Eat People a ton that summer and listened to them a lot while I was in college. And then they did like EPs and splits and stuff. They came out like the O Pioneers split and the Ghost Mice split and the couple of EPs like Operation Stackola. And it was from People through Knife Man. It was just kind of like paying attention to every single thing they did and hearing every single thing that they did. I remember seeing a video of them playing some stuff from Can't Maintain on the Phoenix light rail. I think they would just like walk onto the light rail and play some songs. Like they filmed themselves doing that.
Now I'm like, that's annoying.
Yeah,
don't do that.
It's fucking annoying. But it's really funny. Like I actually know someone who saw them on the Phoenix light rail because I lived in Phoenix for a few years. If you've been listening to the show, you'd know that. So I knew someone who was taking the light rail from Mesa to Phoenix probably like every day for a while. And he said, oh, I saw them get on the train one time and play a song and then they got off. And then it's funny to have met someone who saw them do that. And he's not like a fan. He was just like grew up in the area and was just aware of them. So I think that, having that, it's probably like a 3.5 year period of being intensely into this band and having that eagerness and looking forward to this record is ultimately why I picked this record to talk about for this episode. Because it's just like when I saw it on the list, I'm like, yeah, it's a very popular record, but it is also a very personal record for me. It's something that I was really familiar with. Figured it'd be a good one to talk about. And we haven't really talked about AJJ on the show.
To fucking kill the sun. I'm sick of songs about the summer, and I hate everyone. I'm gonna load my rifle, gonna aim it at the dying star. I wanna live in a bubble. I need a getaway car. Hey, rain on me. Hey, rain on me.
You did remind me of them doing the bus thing. Reminded me of like, I think it was like the first year I saw them at Fest. They played at this place called like the kickstand or the bike stand, and it was like really far away, and like you had to walk down this super busy road to like get to it, and like, but it was like a decent sized little venue, and so I got in there and saw them play, and then the following year they played in the CMC or whatever that little tiny little community bookstore is that they have all the acoustic bands playing and artists. I waited in line to get in there, and the line was so long and the room was packed, and just I couldn't get in. There was just no way I was getting in that room. And so then I was just like, well, the rule of Fest is you bail in a line, basically. If it looks like you're not getting in, bail and go find something else, because otherwise you just waste time in lines. Lines have calmed down considerably over the last few years, thankfully. But back then, lines were nuts. Like, you just getting in there was always impossible. Getting into Common Ground used to be impossible because Common Ground was like the second biggest venue, which is ridiculous because it's like, that's not a big room. That's a 500 cap room, right? But I didn't get in, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go meet up with our friends. And then I heard later that AJJ were so bummed that like a bunch of people stayed outside, couldn't get in, that they then played an entire second set in the parking lot of the building, so everybody who was outside could then see them play. And so they did that. And then they did something else like that too. They played in Asheville one time, and it was one of those things that like it sold out instantly, and they did the same thing. Like there were just a ton of people outside too that couldn't get in. I guess because they just showed up, because it's the type of venue you just show up to. You don't really buy tickets in advance at that venue. And so people had shown up and like they couldn't get in. And so then they came outside and played an acoustic set outside. So they always had this like very cool to their fans attitude. And since they were a two-piece for the longest time, just a upright bass and an acoustic guitar, they could do their thing anywhere. So when Can't Maintain came out, it was like, holy shit, they're Bob Dylan goes electric here, but I also don't remember anybody really being against the change. Was there a backlash on the change to electric?
I don't think so. It wasn't a cultural taboo for folk punk bands to play electric. This Against Me had already done played electric, and Against Me had already had their whole sellout, moment. I want to say Defiance, Ohio probably was playing Pioneers was fully electric, but most people called them a folk punk because they were folky written songs.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like, I think it was more jarring that it was AJJ turns full band more than it was the electric instruments.
Yeah.
Because it went from being a two-piece to being, having drums. And so that changed the character of a lot of their songs, but it also gave them a wider palette, I think, ultimately, because they still did acoustic songs and they did pretty songs but then they had like fun rocking punk songs as a full band. So I think it was of such a good quality that anyone who was, I don't know, maybe some people were like, yeah, I hate them after they did that. I don't know, some weird purist, but
some oogle with a butt flap somewhere.
Yeah. But I think most people who were paying attention to them were like, yeah, this is great. This is better even.
Yeah.
And it was. In the case of Can't Maintain it absolutely was a better record.
So do you remember your reaction to this album when it came out?
I'm trying to think of what immediately stood out to me. I really liked it when it came out. I definitely don't remember liking it as much as Can't Maintain. I want to say my initial reaction to it was, it's not as good as the last one, but it's still really good. And I think my biggest critique at the time was probably that there are some kind of weird songs on here that stood out to me as being kind of really odd for them. But not thinking I wasn't thinking there's just so few and far between that I didn't think it was like, oh, is this the direction they're going in now? They're going to be all these really weird songs. But that actually was kind of where they were going.
I was going to say, spoiler alert, they do go in that direction. I was going to say that I remember really liking it, and I put it as my number, like I just said, I put it as my number 3 pick for that year. I wonder let me read what I wrote, because I don't remember what I wrote back then about it. There we go. So, no, it was my number 2 pick. That's right. Andrew Jackson's Jihad are easily my top 10 all-time favorite band. In my top, sorry, I just can't read. People open the gates for me, and I've devoured every release they put out. Can't Maintain shocked the hell out of me for its heavy use of electric guitars, but showed that a band can experiment with a new sound and still write incredible songs. And though the creative output of AJJ has been pretty limited in the last 2 years, I always knew that any full lengths they put out were going to be great. I'm going to say this now. This is my least favorite AJJ album. Now that really says something if this is my least favorite of theirs, but it's still number 2 on my 2011 end of the year list. Maybe I should have known it was a bad year. Mostly because it has some of my least favorite songs they've ever recorded. I don't really care for the song No One. It reminds me of one of the more boring Bob Dylan songs. I don't know why I would have said Bob Dylan. I also don't really like the song Backpack because it feels like a rehash of Let's Get Murdered. I'd still agree with that. Now that's out of the way, this album also features some of my favorite AJJ songs in American Tune, Distance, Hate Rain on Me, and a ton of others. The first half of the album is mostly plugged-in songs, while the second is heavy on the acoustic that made the band famous in the first place. If you like folk punk, you'll love Knife Man. If you like AJJ, you'll definitely love it. So, okay, that is what I thought I remembered. I remember being disappointed with the album and being like, I don't like it as much as the other albums they put out.
Yeah, I there was a little bit, but my top 3 most listened to records that came out that year were Phone Home by Big Hits, This, and Infrastructure by Ghostlim.
Weird.
And I think those are all records that I still stand by. Like Shadows by Ampere, number 4, and then High Five Soup by Aquabats is my 5th most listened record from 2011.
That's on my list too. I noticed in like my top, it was like my lowest rated one, but it was still in my top like 25 or so. I've really tried to make myself listen to that album and like it.
But there was still enough of that sensibility, I think. Bands that you really like, they put out a record that maybe doesn't blow you away on first listen. I was still in that giving it a lot of effort phase of my life. And just being like, well, I'm going to keep listening to it because I like enough of it, and coming to really enjoy a lot of other things about it. Because there's stuff on here now that I'm like, had I not just exposed myself to it so much so early, I might skip it now, but I can enjoy it enough because it's just so familiar to me now.
Over time, I think I softened on it as far as it. I don't know. I guess I still really liked it then, but maybe at the time I would have probably said Candy Cigarettes and Cap Guns was my favorite or better than this one. Which now in hindsight, I'm like, no, it's not. It's not better. There's like a fun catchiness to that record, but it's just like, it's a bunch of edgelord humor in there, which in 2011, they were already disowning those songs. They're like, these songs are not good. We should not be playing them anymore. So I still think overall, if you look at their whole discography, I would put it firmly in number 3 behind Can't Maintain and People. So it's become an album that I'm like, the things I didn't like then, I liked better over time. And maybe that comes from seeing them live and seeing how some of those songs are performed live. Like Freebird and Big Bird became like show closers for them for years. Like they would end with Big Bird constantly. So that song wound up growing on me, seeing them live and watching the performance and Sean rolling around on the ground on stage doing that song, doing tumbles during that song. So yeah. Over time, I grew a fondness with it, and apparently everyone else did too, because this was the number 4th most popular punk album on Rate Your Music when we pulled that list up. It has as many ratings as the Foo Fighters album, so it shows you how big it is on at least on like the internet. This website loves folk punk though for some reason. Still,
weirdly enough,
they love all those Pat the Bunny Band's records and everything.
If I had a cigarette for every time a perfect stranger asked me for a cigarette, then I'd have enough cigarettes to get me through the day. And if I had some spare change every time a perfect stranger asked me for some spare change, then I'd have enough spare change to take care of these bills I need to pay. And dude, I know that times are tough, but that does not mean that you can have my stuff. So how about a ride? I can drive you to the shelter. We could eat dinner at the Andre house, and you could even take a shower. 'Cause I think you deserve much more than a smoking 50 cents. You deserve to be self-sufficient and buy your own cigarettes.
All right, so revisiting it.
Yeah, going on your point of the growing popularity and probably some degree of reevaluation of this record, its ranking over time, there's a pretty substantial rating differential of about 0.16 from when it came out, around when it came out to now. It curves. It dips down from right when it came out and then goes up and then up, down and then up again, even higher. So it's a record that people have come back to, I think, and gone, no, this is a really good one in their discography. This is a great one in their discography, and probably is, I think, widely considered their 3rd best record.
Yeah, because there is this contingent.
Second or third.
There's this contingent of people who are like people. There's some people who like think that the first LP is just like, holy shit, this is a mind blow, like the all acoustic first record that the folk punks were in love with, you know. And I do still prefer that record over Knife Man, but yeah, I think this has got reevaluated into being one of the better regarded albums in their discography.
And it's the record that led to Sidewind Dummy.
Yeah, bigger labels paying attention to them.
Yeah, it's the record before the big move to AJJ going pro.
All right, so revisiting it, what did you think of it again?
I think it's a lot of fun. I think it is a really good record. It is a lot of fun. I think that it is an inescapably nostalgic record for me, and it is one that is hard to view very objectively. But there's been a pretty long stretch of not listening to AJJ much in general, not really even listening to this record or anything from it. Like when I have reached for AJJ in most of that time, I've gone for like People or I've gone for Can't Maintain. If I wasn't like trying to listen to the newer records. And I think that there are records, if there are songs on this record or aspects of this record that if I were making this record, I would make different choices and I would change some of those things. And I think that AJJ would agree, judging by how many of these songs they sing different lyrics. Even from this period to now, they've changed lyrics and they're like, should we have sang that?
Yeah.
Let's sing something different that gets closer to the point we're trying to make then. But this is a really fun record, and I'm glad to have revisited it. I enjoyed revisiting it. It's funny because my wife got into AJJ like as I was not into them as much. When we moved to Phoenix.
Would it have been a specific album that she was getting into?
She just started listening to some of their stuff in general. We did see them play, which was incredible.
Oh yeah, you saw them in Arizona, Phoenix.
Like right after, like very shortly after we moved to Phoenix, they played at the Trunk Space, which is a tiny DIY venue at a church. I don't remember what church it is. Like floor level, the stage is like half a foot tall, just a tiny, tiny place they played People from front to back and some other stuff. And it was like, I jumped on those tickets. Like as soon as they were available, I was like, I want to see 2-piece AJJ play my second favorite record, the record that got me into them. So I bought tickets and she went with me. So I think it was probably around, she got into that stuff through, and she listened to everything kind of from there on to varying degrees. But I asked her, I was like, well, we're talking about this record. Do you have any thoughts to pass along? And she said that her favorite song from this record is If You Have Love in Your Heart.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
And she was saying that this is a record that she'll always associate with Phoenix and the things that she loved about Phoenix. And I was thinking before she said that to me, while I was listening to this record, I'm like, this is such a Phoenix record. This is like, there are like direct references to things in Phoenix and aspects of Phoenix, and like singing about the skate park being 15-minute men songs from my house. And just like, I can picture what that like ride to the skate park is like. And talking, Big Bird being the big red bird that under the city, like I'm thinking, you see the Phoenix logo is a phoenix. Like you see that all over the place. It's like on manhole covers, and it's just like the emblem of the city. Hate Rain on Me being kind of like it's a tongue-in-cheek summer anthem of, hating the summertime. And what that means to someone living in Phoenix is living in an environment that's trying to kill you.
Yeah, because I specifically read a review that mentioned that song, talking about how much he hates this. It's a song about how he hates the summer, and yeah, I didn't think about the aspect of summer in Phoenix is very, very different than I hate songs about the summer is the line in the song.
Yeah, because summer in Phoenix is
torture,
very, very difficult.
The song ends with "Go Suns," which is a funny little shout out at the end too.
Go Suns, yeah.
I have a wife connection to this album as well. My wife doesn't care about my music, we don't have a huge overlap on the type of music we listen to. Our big overlap in music taste is like pop music from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, like just like the big anthem, well-known stuff from that time period. That's what we listen to together that we like. But there was a period where like I would throw on AJJ quite frequently, and so she knew they were a band I liked. I don't think she cared about them whatsoever. She tolerated them. She's always tolerated every musical choice I've ever put on in the car, but and never complained. So that's fun. But I also don't try and be like, we're gonna listen to only my music whenever I'm driving. You know, like I try and pick something that she'll want to hear. But she bought this for me on vinyl with Kepi Ghouli's I Bleed Rock and Roll, because they both came out the same year. And he's another guy. He was doing a bunch of acoustic stuff at the time, but that record was electric. She bought that one just because she liked the artwork.
It's funny. He does live in Phoenix currently. Or he was for a little while.
Yeah. AJJ is now in Tucson. They moved, right?
Yeah, I want to say they probably... Well, Ben might still be in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I know Sean lives in Tucson.
So she bought it for me on vinyl. And so, like, yeah, I had it on vinyl probably for my birthday that year. So it would have been like a month after it came out. So it was like really new still. And I don't think she cares about them because I play the other albums later too. And she recognizes when it's AJJ. It's like she's never like, who's this? Like she just Sean's got a pretty recognizable voice. And so she's always like, is this the new AJJ? Like, yep. And so, yeah, going back to the record though. I don't want to do like a track by track. I could with this record. I think there is like very easily a way to do this track by track, but I'll try and kind of keep it in notable moments. So the record starts off with the Michael Jordan of drunk driving. It's like a little acoustic guitar and mandolin song. It's like 20 seconds long. One of their like humorous little ditties. They didn't really do a lot of those type of things, but stuff that short at least. So it's funny to start the record that way. But then it goes into Gift of the Magi 2, Return of the Magi. Funnily enough, I listened to a podcast called Unpopular Opinion, who actually they just changed their name to You Don't Even Like This Show for trademark reasons. He wanted to trademark the name Unpopular Opinion, and someone beat him to the punch. So wound up coming up with a new name. And him and another comedian, one of his co-hosts, they did a comedy album split that they did called Gift of the Magi 2. And I remember them being on like, yes, we know there's a band with the name of that record or the song called that. It's like, we didn't know that at the time. Please stop asking us about it or telling us about it. So like Gift of the Magi, Distance, Hate Rain on Me. These are like the big rockin' songs.
American tune kind of.
I wouldn't say American Tune's a big rock song.
No, yeah, it's more classic AJJ.
These are like the punk songs. These are the songs that you would have heard like on Can't Maintain. These are my favorite songs on the album. I love all these guys. What? Love all these guys?
I love these guys. I love you guys.
My guys. These songs are my guys. Hate Rain on Me especially. Notable for featuring Benny from the Gaslight Anthem playing guitar.
Yeah.
He plays the lead guitar. One of the best choruses on the record. One of the best choruses in their whole discography. And it's just like a super fun song. American Tune is a song that I remember liking a lot when it came out. Being like, this song's funny. And the joke is just, I've just heard the song too many times. It's not funny anymore. It's one of those kind of songs where it's like, yes, it's still good. It's still well written. It has a lot of great points. I'm just over the joke. I've heard it too many times to be, it's track 3 on here. So like I've definitely heard it almost every single time I ever put the album on. And so like it's just worn out its welcome for me personally. But if you've never heard it, it is actually a really fun song. But I would lump that song in with like Backpack, Fuck the Devil, which might be one of my least favorite songs on here. And maybe even the closers. Freebird and Big Bird. Those are the songs that are like lots more instrumentation beyond just acoustic instruments. Like there's electric stuff going on, but there's also like all these like extra things happening. And then they do a little bit of the classic AJJ song, the If You Have Love in Your Heart, like acoustic. The Sad Songs is a country honky tonk style song, a little bit of novelty song. But Zombie by the Cranberries by Andrew Jackson's Jihad. That's whenever I hear the mandolin on this album, I'm like, man, that's the stuff. That's the old AJJ.
The mandolin sounds really pretty on this record.
Mm-hmm. That one, whenever they get to when the Saints come marching in part of the song, so good. And then People Too Still Peoplin', which is like all acoustic and then goes into like full electric that then goes right into Sorry Bro. And those two songs back to back, People Too and Sorry Bro, to me is the highlight of the album. It just works so well.
I love People Too. That's a very Phoenixy feeling song because you can buy a salad glove, you can buy an iPod, you can sell that shit to Bookman's when your wife dies and you lose your job. It's one of my favorite lyrics. And it's just like Bookman's. It's just that's just a Phoenix staple. Go to Bookman's.
And then that's the next song is where the 15 Minute Men song's away, and that's when they do the We're the Kids in America interpolation in there too. Just like one of my favorite parts of the whole record is just how those two songs work together. And then it gets into Freebird and Big Bird. And Freebird's a little bit more straightforward, just kind of like an acoustic song. But there's a very much do they roll into each other? I think they're songs that have like
I think there's some overlapping. I think they start using like the field recording bird sounds, and
which there's field recording bird sounds on the new record.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess my reason we're going through the album like this is I want to get to what Big Bird is and kind of what it means for the rest of their discography, because Big Bird is 100% the warning sign for what's coming next with AJJ. I have grown to love that song, but the choice and all like the instrumentation and the structure of the song and like the weird decisions they made, it's like, that carries over into the next, not quite next 4, because the one record is not so much like that, but a little bit of the newest one, including Christmas Island and the Holy Mountain, the Bible too.
AJJ's Holy Mountain. We've seen them play Dragonaut.
Yeah, that's true.
AJJ's The Holy Mountain by Jodorowsky. That's probably what they would call it. I remember not caring for Big Bird initially.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling like it was too melodramatic. It felt like they were reaching for something that I couldn't quite, because there was something about it to me that because of how it's placed on this record after all of these songs and AJJ's like being like a funny band, to me it felt like a joke song because it was so melodramatic and big and grandiose. And I don't think that it was intended to actually be a joke song, but I do think that they have fun with it live. That is kind of funny. So it's a very difficult song to really rate and quantify within the context of AJJ, especially AJJ at that time. Makes a lot more sense now within the fuller context of what they have done since then. And I still don't love it. I do like Freebird more of the Bird songs.
Yeah, Freebird I think is a little bit more palatable. But there are lines in Big Bird that I really enjoy. Like the big red bird in the city that doesn't give a damn about me and it dies every night part. But yeah, so then they go on to do Christmas Island, which they take a couple years to make because Sean has writer's block, and what he came out on the other side of the writer's block is more in line with Big Bird. And
yeah, so the way that you kind of broke this record down, there are these runs of songs on the record that are like Michael Jordan, Your American Tune. Those feel like AJJ that we know up to this point. You have Backpack, but it's broken up by Backpack and Fuck the Devil, but it's broken up by Distance. Distance is kind of classic AJJ. Backpack, Fuck the Devil, kind of weird. Backpack I like. Fuck the Devil I don't really care that much for.
No.
Hey, Rain on Me, If You Have Love in Your Heart, Back on Track. This is what I like about AJJ's. Two different styles of AJJ's song back to back that I really love. Some of my favorite songs on this record. No One, The Ballad of the Thin Man, Take Off, is such an oddity, even on this record with a handful of oddities. Sad Songs being a send-up, a genre riff, is kind of odd for them, and I feel like it's something that fits with what they would do after this. But there's it's realizing now with time that probably a quarter to a third of this record is actually where they were going, and it is delivered. It works well with this record because there's enough of a balance of what felt familiar. But then going into Christmas Island, Bible 2, it's like, so I need my least favorite stuff from Knife Man for the whole record.
Yeah. I need to revisit those records to kind of see what stands out to me. Looking at the track listing, though, right now of Christmas Island, I'm like, Temple Grandin, no. Coffin Dance, no. Getting Naked and Playing with Guns, no. Linda Ronstadt, no. Temple Grandin 2, no. I do not like it. And then the Bible 2, Junkie Church. I do like No More Shame, No More Fear, No More Hate, I think is what it is. It cuts off. Don't like White Worms. Don't like My Brain's a Human Body. Don't like Terrifier. Don't like Small Red Boy. Don't like When I'm a Dead Boy. It's just like, man, what are they doing?
Yeah, you don't like the songs that have comprised their set list.
Yeah.
Since those records came out. So I listened to Disposable Everything today as well.
I wanted to get your thoughts on it because I did too. I revisited it just to like a second listen.
Overall, I liked it.
On second listen, I liked it much more. I just may not have been in the mood the first time I listened to it because it was like the first thing I listened to when I woke up that day, and I don't think it's a breakfast record. There's some albums that work and don't work. That one doesn't work in the morning. But I listened to it again today, and I was like, okay, the stuff that annoyed me then doesn't annoy me nearly as bad, and the stuff I liked is better. So, yeah.
I really liked Strawberry. I really liked Moon Valley High. I thought the title track was pretty good. A Thought of You, Candles of Love, I enjoyed. I didn't love Schadenfreude. I didn't love I Want to Be Your Dog Too.
Yeah. Schadenfreude felt kind of annoying. Like he was trying to do a trick song, using the same rhyming sound.
But I think it's a record that I'll come back to sometime this year, and it's not the record that I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, so after the 2020 record came out, I was like, yes, they're back on track. They're doing the folksy stuff. Yes, their record's very much a political album, a protest record. And it was immediately dated as soon as COVID hit. But I liked the songs, and I liked the rage that was going on those songs because, like, that still hasn't really died away. You know, the political dissatisfaction. Because they not super political lyrically before, more socially than politically, but it was back on track with like the style of songs that I preferred them writing. And so when the new record came out, I was disappointed immensely by them choosing to go back into more what they were doing before that with the Bible 2 and Christmas Island. But I would say the newest record has more in common with Knife Man than maybe those two after re-listening to it.
Yeah, they're more interesting. What I really kind of enjoyed about the new record is that there are like kind of some weird ideas. It still feels like Sean, but it doesn't feel the way that Christmas Island Bible 2 felt of being like, I gotta come up with something real weird to say. The songs have got to be real weird. Like, and that's like the bulk of the record is like, what kind of gross, bizarre image can I come up with? And there's some like the baby panda, you know, it's kind of like, but I enjoyed that song. I'm curious to see how that one grows on me. If it does, I'll come back to it. I don't dislike it. I was kind of surprised. Like when I started, it was like within the first 3 songs, I'm like, Justin really didn't like this record.
Re-listening to it, and I got through the first 3 songs, I was like, maybe I do like this album. I don't know. I think it actually ends weak. I think it starts strong and ends weak. I think it's its biggest flaw.
Yeah, my biggest problem started to really come up very late in the record. I think I Hate Rock and Roll, through I Want to Be Your Dog Too, I was just like, I don't like this, don't care as much for this.
I liked I Hate Rock and Roll because it reminded me of older songs that they've written about how they hate rock and roll.
It felt like not as good
of
a version of it felt like I Want to Rock Out in My Dreams.
Yeah, which is one of the good songs from, is that off the later ones?
That's off of Christmas Island.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just a better version of that song.
Yeah. What I do like about AJJ is they have a gigantic discography, though, with lots to find and enjoy. Some of those compilations, like those rompilations, are really fun to listen to if you've never listened to those. Some of the EPs they have, Only God Can Judge Me and Operation Stackola, like this stuff is really good. They're half of the O Pioneers split. They're half of the Ghost Mice split, and some of their best songs. Little Bird, El Principito, Little Prince. Still probably one of my all-time favorite songs by them. They have fun live records. Like, I'm not a big live record fan, but AJJ has good banter, so that makes the live records fun to listen to. And I've seen AJJ live a bunch of times now. I was trying to think how many times total. That might be hard. Did you and I go see them in like Durham at the Motor Co?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've seen them twice
Roswell
at the Motor Co. Yeah, that's right. So I saw them again on the People anniversary tour there. That was the one show where their drummer Deacon, I loved him. He was so good. He quit the band to go play in a black metal band called Nulling Roots. He was like, he had these braids in his hair, and he was always just like fun to watch play live, because I remember that one show. Yeah, it was that show. It was a very young crowd, because AJJ has a very young audience. And like, it was hot in there. And then he just like, after they play a song, he just looks at me and he goes, "It's hot in here," like from across the stage. I'm like, "Yeah, it is." Just like, it's just funny. I think he was just like, "Hey, that's not a kid." I can talk to that guy. But
this guy's feeling the heat.
This guy knows. I was like, "Well, you're drumming and I'm just standing here." But yeah, okay. Yeah. So AJJ have a youth audience, and younger listeners find them all the time, and
perpetually.
Every time I go, it's more young people every time I go. It's like the older people are dropping out of AJJ over the years, because I saw them in Asheville in 2020, and like, it was probably the youngest audience I'd ever seen them with. And I guess that's people always compare AJJ to the Mountain Goats. I get it. Prolific musicians, started acoustic, known for the lyricism, similar vocal styles. They have very high voices.
It's weird little guy music.
Yeah. That teens and 20-year-olds really love weird little guy music. We've talked before about the Mountain Goats and how we don't actually like them. And so I was always a little like, stop comparing them to the Mountain Goats. Mountain Goats win electric too. Like, that's another thing too, like they have in common, but I don't know. I think lyrically they're completely different in their approaches. Like, there's stories, but AJJ's stories sometimes don't make any sense and are just like weird and not like trying to do a morality tale or whatever. I don't know. I think the later records are much less in common, so maybe that's calmed down a little bit, but that probably explains the young attraction. I don't know. Young kids like lyrics. And AJJ I'm not a lyrics guy. AJJ is a band I do like the lyrics. Well, used to like the lyrics on for like quite a bit. I don't love the latest lyric stuff, but when they do have something I like, I really like it.
Yeah, he's got a way with words that's usually interesting.
Mm-hmm. And when he's funny, he's really funny.
Yeah.
Like, there's lines on this record that still made me laugh. Even though American Tune, I'm like over. There's still other lines on the album that I'm like, that's a good line. It's so good. Well, do we have any more closing thoughts?
No, I think that's I'm glad to have revisited this record and need to throw some classic AJJ stuff into my rotation more and come back to the new record again.
Yeah.
Haven't lost me yet.
No, you lost me there. It's not. We're not ready for it yet.
Well, could still apply to just a single record or a period of an artist's life.
It could just be Christmas Island. You lost me there. Christmas Island and the Holy Mountain, or God damn it, the Bible.
Christmas Island and the Holy Mountain.
The Bible. It's not even called the Holy Bible 2. It's called the Bible 2. I don't know why I keep calling it because that's my Baptist, like, it's the Holy Bible. You lost me there with Christmas Island and the Bible too, but you got me back with Good Luck Everybody, and you almost lost me on the new one, but I gave it a second chance. That was a me problem. You want to rate it? What do we want to rate it? Have you tried your new rubric on rating albums yet?
I did it on the new record. I didn't give it to Knife Man. I think I've kept Knife Man at a 4.5 for a long time, and I would leave it there. Maybe it's more of a 4.25, but
that's what I was going to say. I have it as a 4.5 on Rate Your Music because you can't do quarter stars. So I would give it 4.25. Now, maybe depending on the day, I would maybe bump it. Yeah, there's just some stuff that really hits. So the stuff that hits keeps it at the 4.25 instead of dipping to 4. But yeah. And even the stuff that like doesn't hit for me as hard is still better than a lot of the stuff they were doing on the next 2 records. So yeah, 4.25. That's where I'm at. So, well, thank you everyone for listening. Rate and review, subscribe, all the social medias, all the good stuff. You know how to find us. You got the internet. You know how to look for us. We're the only one called punklottopod on the internet. So maybe I should trademark that. But thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
To order Punk, call the number on your screen. Rush delivery is available. Remember, this special offer is not sold in stores.